Hi, my name is Winnie Lee, and today I'll be presenting Jean Piaget and his stages of development. So, he had 4 stages of cognitive development. The first one would be sensory motor, which is birth to 2 years old, pre-operational, which was 2 to 7, concrete operations, which is 7 to 12, and formal operations, which was 12 plus. And so, in his first stage, which is sensory motor, he believed that at the end of the stage, children or infants would be able to understand object permanence, which is when something is out of sight, it still exists. On top of that, he believed that their knowledge is based on their senses and motor skills, and they would often recall and imitate real life. So, an example of an infant at this stage would be holding a block to their head and using it as phones. The next stage is pre-operational, and at this stage, he believed that children would think and talk about things beyond their own experiences. Also, their language and grammar skills would increase, and they would begin to use symbols to represent aspects of the world, but only through their own perspective. So, an example of this would be like if they had play mimicking life, and they were playing things like house, where one of the children was the mom and the other one was like an infant. The next stage is concrete operations, and this talks about how children at this age would have more concrete ideas and they would do things that require more logic. At this stage, they also understand conservation. And an example of this would be a child being able to do regular math but getting confused with negative numbers or the concept of infinity. And his last stage was the formal operations stage, where he talked about how children could think about the future as well as abstract ideas. They would also be able to deal with hypothetical situations, think figuratively, and an example of this would be children being able to understand proverbs such as the early bird gets the worm. And finally, the cultural influence and applications. So Piaget's sample size was pretty small, and but researchers know now that children of different cultural backgrounds may do better or worse in certain areas depending on their background. And additionally, for applications of this theory, researchers encourage children to be curious, let them play, probe their reasoning, and work in groups. And finally, the last main takeaway from this is to not take his stages too literally, because stages change over time and children are all different. Thank you.